Hi everyone. Today we have Eduard Sipos with us. He is going to do an overview presentation on Web3 and it's entitled The Tale of Web3. I'm curious who are the dragons and who are the heroes in Eduard's presentation. As I understood, this is going to be a session easy to process for everyone, just like the tag, let's say the tagline of ETH Cluj conference, Ethereum for everyone. So if you are a non-technical, this is a good opportunity to find what's going on in Web3 and find more about it. And if you are technical and already know a lot, you can sit back and be open to Edward's perspective. And please engage with questions or whatever observations at the end. But before passing on the mic to Edward, I'll ask Simona to step in and tell us a bit about ETH Cluj, especially the conference and the opportunity to receive ticket discounts. So, Simona?
Hey, hi guys. Thanks everyone for joining, first of all. And yeah, excited to be here. Actually, myself as well as Alex are live from Meet Prague, right? So exciting times. What I wanted to say regarding ETH Cluj conference, which is now happening in 1 month from now, pressure is on for everyone, and we're organizing the best experience for everyone who wants to attend this year. And with this in mind, actually, we've put together something that you're probably familiar with by now. We have set up a Road to ETH Cluj campaign, which is consisting of a series of POAPs that can be minted by attending each of our sessions. These POAPs come with a 25% ticket discount to ETH Cluj conference this year and can be accumulated up to a free ticket. So encouraging everyone to attend. I'll be sharing later on the QR code that you can all scan and mint your POAP, proof of attendance, as well as, get a cool 25% discount. Thank you so much, guys. I'm gonna let you start the presentation, Eduard, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and share from your knowledge. Over to you, Eduard.
Thank you for the introduction. I will just share my screen. It's all good?
Yep, seeing it.
Great. So, hello everyone, and welcome to an introduction into a world where the future of the web is not just something you will browse, but something you will truly own and shape. Before we begin, I have a couple of questions for you. How many of you think about crypto when you hear the word blockchain? Did you wonder if there's more to blockchain than just another way to scam people on the internet? Is crypto the only use of the blockchain? My name is Sipos Eduard, and today I will share with you a story. Back when I was in college, I heard a lot of people talking about this revolutionary technology called blockchain. Back then, all I was thinking, I was like, yeah, everybody's talking about Bitcoin, right? I was already working as a software developer in Web2, and I was interested into the technologies, and I was driving by knowing more about it. When COVID came and sent everybody home, I started working from home and had a lot more time on my hands. Having that more time, I've started reading more about blockchain and trying to understand more and more about it. And as I started to read about it, I realized that there's more to the story than just crypto. So then, what blockchain actually is? Before I can answer to this question, let's have a very small history lesson from the beginning of the web. We had Web 1, or the static web, which was all about consumption. We still can find it today as static presentation websites or presenting a product or presenting a services. Even back then, one of the challenges that Web 1 faced was it wasn't interactable and it was just something you consume it. So as a solution for this, Web 2 appeared. Web 2, or the social web, was all about participation. it became so powerful that everything that's around us is built on Web 2. Web 2 represents almost everything that we use, from social media, banking services, maps, even smart streetlights, vacuum, and so on. One of the things that we know about Web 2, we know that Web 2 is centralized and controlled. But why is that? What makes Web 2 centralized and controlled? Well, this guy, or the hard drives. Well, not actually the hard drives, but the giant companies that own the center servers and databases. One of the giants in the industry is the China Telecom Inner Information Park that has about 1 million square meters. Looks something like this. So then, what Web 2 is? Web 2 is interactive, centralized, and controlled. One of the concerns that emerged in the past couple of years was regarding the privacy and the protection of personal data. We all know that major social medias sold personal information and personal data to advertisers to make profit out of it. And this is not even the biggest issue that we face. Our entire financial system, from online bankings, apps, and global payment networks, runs on centralized web infrastructures. One of those centralized data centers, if one of those data centers fails, gets hacked, or simply taken offline, access to the money can be paused in an instant. And this is not just a theoretical risk that we face. We have even the war next to our borders, where the Ukrainian banks froze people assets and they couldn't use their money. So what would be a solution for this? A solution for this we have in Web3, or in decentralized web, where it's all about ownership and decentralization. Web3 is decentralized. It's about trustless system and ownership. Decentralization in Web3 refers to a scenario in which the power, control, and security are transferred from one central authority to several actors who join to manage the system of interest. One of the technology that powers decentralization is the blockchain. We can say that the heart of Web3 is the blockchain. So if Web3 is the body, then blockchain is the heart, pumping data, trust, and value to every part of the system. So let's go back to a question that we had before. What blockchain actually is? The short version, a big data center. Okay, great. You may wonder how this blockchain differs from the traditional data center. At the surface, they are the same, but let's dig deeper and see what is under the hood. A regular data center have a single point of failure, just like a regular one-headed serpent. If you cut off the head, it will die. Just like if you unplug a data center, it will stop working and all the data from that center will get lost. Now, blockchain, it's represented by a series of nodes, where each node represents one-to-one copy of the other node, exactly like a multi-headed serpent. Do you know what a multi-headed serpent looks like? Looks like something like this, where each head represents a node. So if you cut one head, the other will still work the same. Even more, in time, another head grows back. Similar to the blockchain, a new node can be added at any time. Everybody can participate in the blockchain, and almost everybody can have access or create a node in the chain. Now that we have an idea about decentralization and blockchain, how about ownership? To understand more about how ownership works on Web3, let's take a Web2 example. Social media. We all have or use login with email or password, right? Have you ever wondered where are your email and password stored? I have a better question. The email address. Who is the owner of your email address? We all have been tricked into thinking that we own the email addresses, social media accounts, but the reality is that we only borrow them and we are allowed to use them as long as we respect the provided terms and conditions. Okay, now, let's see how identity looks in Web3. In Web3, we use something called a wallet. This acts as your digital identity and footprint in the blockchain ecosystem. A wallet has two parts. It has a public key, a public address, and a private key. You can think of your public address like your email. It's what you share with the others. The private key is like your password. It's what proves you truly control the wallet. And just like a password, it should never be shared. When you want to log in into a Web3 platform, instead of creating an account, you connect your wallet. The platform reads your public address, and then you sign a small transaction to prove that you own it. You sign the transaction by using your private key securely and on your machine. By doing this, you are not sharing your password with the provider. Where in a Web2, if you use your email and password, both the email and the password will go to the server to be checked. After your identity is proven, you will have access to the platform and you will be able to use whatever the platform brings to you. And you don't need to give any personal information. Okay, we have some new terms in here. We have the transaction and sign. A transaction in Web2 is a set of data, instructions that are waiting to be executed on the blockchain. But before that can happen, you need to sign it. You can think of it like sending a message. The transaction is the message you are returning. Signing is the moment you say, okay, I'm doing this, and hit the send button. And for a more clear example, you also have to confirm that message with your Face ID. Once the message is sent, you cannot take it back. Exactly like a transaction on the blockchain. Once the transaction is on the blockchain and it's got delivered to the blockchain, it will become public and everybody will be able to see it and access it. Okay, so what we know so far. We know that there is more to Web3 than just crypto. We know that Web3 is built on blockchain technology, and we know that blockchain is a fancy word for a decentralized data center. Let's look a bit deeper into Web3 and blockchain technology. Let's see other characteristics that are representative for blockchain. Blockchain is also transparent and secure. Every transaction is recorded and visible to everyone. In the blockchain ecosystem, if a transaction is visible and everybody can see it, this also makes it nearly impossible for someone to cheat the system. It also allows you to trace any transaction and any object that was transferred using the blockchain. Let's take a money transfer, for example. If you want to send money from a person to another person or from an entity to a person, you will be able to track that. Let's take, for example, Ethereum network. And if you want to see a transaction on Ethereum network, you can go to Etherscan, which is a platform where you will be able to see each transaction. And all you need to know is the public address that made the transaction or received the transaction. And this will look something like this. Here we can see, this is how a transaction will look like on Etherscan. Here we can see that we have a transaction hash, which is basically the ID of the transaction. We have the status of the transaction. We have a block, which is the number where the transaction was minted. We have a from and a to. A from address is the address who did the transaction or sent the money. We have a to, an address that received the money or received what we have transferred. Here we have the value or what was transferred to the address. We have a transaction fee, and also we have a gas price. The transactional fee and gas price are fees or used by the network to operate. Okay, now let's see what makes blockchain secure. Blockchain is secured by cryptography, decentralization, consensual mechanism, immutability, and smart contracts. Cryptography. Cryptography is hash functions and digital signature. A hash function, what it represents, it's taking an input, a text file number, and produce a unique fingerprint. if you change the input, it will change the output. So the same input will always give you the same output. And in blockchain, each block contains a hash of the previous block. And this is how the chain is formed. Changing any data would alter the hash and break the chain. And this is why the blockchain is secure. So if you want to change any previous data in the chain, you will have to have control over 51% of the entire blockchain, which on public blockchains are nearly impossible due to how many people are participating and are having open nodes in the chain. Also, we have the digital signature, which is basically when the user signs the transaction with the private key. We have immutability, which is once a block is added and validated, it becomes nearly impossible to change. And this is to exactly the hash that we talked before. We also have the smart contracts. The smart contracts are the code that's executed on the blockchain. It's immutable and transparent. Usually, a trusted project on the blockchain will share the code and you will be able to see the code open wide. If not, there always will be the bytecode of the project or the contract visible on the chain. Here we have a very basic example of a voting contract, which has two functions: to vote and to see who voted. These are the only two functions or the only two interaction that you can have with this contract. Once this contract is out on the blockchain, you cannot change it, you cannot alter it. Okay, now that we know what blockchain brings to the table, let's see what other things we have in the ecosystem, in the blockchain ecosystem. We have digital assets that are used to power the decentralized applications. We have two core digital assets. We have the tokens and we have the NFTs. Tokens are fungible tokens. They are digital assets where each token is identical in value and function. Let's take, for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum. Usually tokens are used for currency and payment, and also they are used for access to service. For example, in Web3, when you want to give user more access, but you also want them to give you something in return, we have the staking. The staking is when you leave your money as a deposit in a bank. And based on the deposit or based on how much token did you stake, the system or the platform that you have staked your tokens, it will give you some advantages, maybe a tax reduction or maybe some features in that particular platform. We have NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens. They are unique digital assets that represents ownership, that represents proof of authenticity, and they are distinct. For example, artworks, in-game items, or collectibles. It's spreadly used in gaming, in membership and access passes, and real-world assets representing like property. For example, here in 2023, a property in Croatia was successfully sold as an NFT. The NFT was representing the ownership rights. The NFT was issued on the Ethereum blockchain, and it was tied to that company who held the actual property asset. I think this was one of the coolest thing where NFT was actually used in something more than just creating monkeys and digital assets. Okay, now that we know some of the digital asset that we have on the blockchain ecosystem, let's have a look to dApps or decentralized applications. We have here 4 categories that are already using or plan to use blockchain to enhance their processes. We have DeFi, which is decentralized finance applications. We have gaming, we have health and real estate. DeFi is financial application built on blockchain networks that operate without intermediaries using smart contracts. The most common DeFi projects are DEX or decentralized exchange. The well-known decentralized exchange that is the widespread, it's Uniswap, which represents an exchange. How we can think about it, like when you go to the bank in Web2, you will go to the bank to make an exchange from euro to USDT or to USD. In Web3, you will go to Uniswap and you will be able to swap your Ethereum to USDT without having an intermediary, without having you to go to the bank, without having you to wait for the bank system to approve your exchange. DeFi is one of the most, it has the most impactful and widely adoption in the world. And the reason why this happened is because it removed the intermediaries and it had an immediate and significant economy impact. For example, for countries that have high inflation or unstable nation currency, the DeFi projects bring a solution to these countries. We have an example like Argentina, who has suffered from years of hyperinflation, with annual inflation surpassing 140% in 2023. The national currency, the peso, rapidly lose value, making it difficult for people to save or plan financially. So because of that, many of Argentinian people have turned to stable coins like USDT and DeFi platforms. And they did this to protect their saving from inflation, to access dollar-backed assets without strict banking controls, and also to participate in the global market. I think DeFi opened a new doors for countries with this type of issue, and also it opened a much more easier way to participate in the global market. We have the gaming industry. Using the blockchain technology, the gaming industry began utilizing NFTs as in-game items, allowing players to truly own their assets and trade them outside the game environment. Here we have examples like card games, God on Chain or Wolves of Rome, who actually created card packs that are NFTs, and each card had a rarity-based value model. So user would buy card packs and they would be able to trade them on secondary market for making an extra profit or for buying the card that they actually want to have in their collection. And because of NFT royalty system, it also ensured that each card that was traded on the secondary market, it will also bring a portion or a fraction to the actual creator. How NFT royalty system worked is the seller receive a part of the amount and the developer will receive a fraction of the amount that was from the price that was paid for that NFT. In the health industry, at this point, I don't recall to be a real evidence of blockchain use in the health industry, but what we know is that IBM is researching a way to decentralize the medical records and store them securely into the blockchain. Some advantages here would be enabling real-time permission sharing of patients' data between providers, labs, insurance, and researchers. Also, it will allow sharing data in a secure manner between hospitals. I think it will be great to go to a hospital and not needing to ask them permission for giving you the research or giving you the lab results, so you can go to another hospital to show them. I think this would be a very nice implementation for the blockchain into the health industry. We also have the real estate, and here we already had an example with the Croatia, but also here we can have another example that will prove how fractional ownership works. For example, you can have a property that would be an NFT that will have multiple owners. And let's say that property will go out for rent, and each time that rent money comes in, it will be divided to each person who has a fraction of that NFT. And I think this would help as early investors who don't really have the money to buy an entire property, but they can buy a small fraction of an actual property and already start investing their money into something that is also digitalized, and it's also a property physically that you can see and go to. Okay, knowing that these are some of the use cases that it's in use and it will be nice to have in use for the blockchain, let's see how many types of blockchains are out there. We have 4 types of blockchain. We have public blockchains, we have private blockchains, we have consortium or federal blockchains, and we have hybrid blockchains. The public blockchains are open to everyone. They are fully decentralized and transparent. Anyone can read, write, or participate to the public blockchains. We have the private blockchains, which are restricted, access controlled by a single organization. They are much more faster and efficient than public blockchains, having a much lower user base. Only selected participants can validate and view transactions. Usually the private blockchains are used in supply chain for internal use. Not that common as far as I know. We have the consortium or federal blockchains, which are controlled by a group of organizations, offers partial decentralization and more trust and coordination between known parties. I see this in using for banks or insurance company. The hybrid blockchains, they are combining the public and private features. The sensitive data remains private while the public data is open. Here, I would see it in use in like government or healthcare, where some of the data you want to be public and you want everybody to have access to it and everybody to see it, but some of the information you would like have to remain private and nobody to have access to that. Okay, now that we have an idea about blockchain and Web3, let's have a look about what challenges we can face in Web3. We have scalability challenges, we have user experience, security, regulatory, interoperability, and adoption. For scalability, blockchains, especially Ethereum, which are layer 1 blockchains, they are struggle with high transaction volumes. The user experience, wallet, gas fees, private keys are maybe confusing for non-technical user. The interface are often not that user-friendly compared to Web2 apps. Even though for the user experience, we can already see a lot of improvements by known wallets like MetaMask, who has made a very great job by trying to make the interface as friendly as possible, even adding some protection feature to the user, some messages to encourage the user to not allow any transaction to go through. We have some security risks. Here, the users are responsible for their private keys. Compared to Web2, where you will be able to reset your password if something happens to your account, in Web3, if you lose your private key or it gets stolen, you will lose access to your wallet. Implicitly, if that wallet was representing your identity, you will lose access to that. And it will require you to create another one. Here, it will get to, I think one solution here will be to get more, to learn more about the technology before starting to use it. Regulatory uncertainty here is a lack of clear legal frameworks in many countries. But I think by how the latest news goes, where Bitcoin will become a federal resource in America, I think we are on the good track to get the more and more the crypto into the world and start actually using it more and more, and maybe hopefully the blockchain will get used to other stuff, not just into the financial system. Interoperability is usually limited cross-chain communication. We started having multiple chains at this point, and also I know builders that are creating bridges between this chain. So here also I think we are on a very good path by creating bridges between chains and allowing users to have asset on multiple chains. Adoption and trust. The general public and enterprises are still skeptical. And I think this is the reason why the public and enterprises are still skeptical, is because they don't really know the power or other use of the blockchain besides the cryptocurrencies. Also, the education and infrastructure are lacking. Blockchain and Web3, it's still at the early steps. And yes, we need more education, but we also are at the point where we discover more and more about Web3. Okay, so what we learned today. There is more to Web2 than just crypto. Blockchain is a fancy word for decentralization data centers. In Web3, your identity is your wallet, so keep it safe. We have decentralized application like DeFi. This is what I had prepared for today. Are there any questions?
Cool. Nice overview and nice introduction to the basic concepts. So, anyone questions, or if you can just copy, drop them in the chat, or just take the mic and ask. Eduard, I have a question. Or it's rather an observation. So, so for example, one of the qualities of Web2, of Web3 over Web2, is the fact that it kind of creates this environment where you can no longer run freemium style of services, where initially in a freemium service you would capture the and create a network effect around your application or whatever service you run, and then you just put the fences around your users and change the rules. Very much like, for example, Revolut did it. I remember it was the latest thing. You could exchange currencies for free, and then they until when they got to a certain point and a certain level of growth, they just started changing terms and conditions, uh, raising the fees for whatever services and things like that. So not necessarily that you cannot do this in Web3 or dApps written with smart contracts, but at least you know that what changes can be brought to the service. So yeah, that's more of a observation. One question from Simona: which are the most relevant use cases for blockchains? And she refers to things that cannot be built with a simple database out of the things that you have written.
I think one of the use case for blockchain that will actually be much more powerful than a simple database will be a voting system where you could vote your government or your president using the blockchain. And the reason why is that because once the voting system is out there on the blockchain, you cannot alter it, you cannot change the information, you cannot fake it, and everybody can see who voted who, and also it will be much easier um, to fight the corruption that usually happens in some countries.
Cool.
I think also another relevant use case would be the exactly that's already happening with the stable coins and what happened in Argentina, where their local currency went down, and the people from Argentina could actually save their money or invest their money using stable coins from the DeFi, using the DeFi. I think that's an actually use case that a lot of people are not talking about, everybody's talking about meme coins, but nobody's talking about what what this technology already bring to the world.
Yes, cool. But at the same time, some stablecoins just are centralized and they just can lock your wallet or freeze you.
Unfortunately, yes, and that's the USDT, if I remember correctly. Unfortunately, yes, a lot of stable coins are still centralized, and we are looking for hopefully someone to create a decentralized stable coin. But still, it's much more powerful than having a currency that is fluctuating too often.
Yeah, there are solutions, but either not fully decentralized or not perfect. And there were these problems with the algorithmic stablecoins before. So you still want to make sure that they do not lose their peg. But yes,
Yes.
okay. Cool. What would you What's the best way to onboard someone to Web3? Let's say someone, a friend of yours who doesn't know anything about Web3, and let's say that this person just saw your presentation. What would you recommend them? What should they try first?
I think what I would recommend to them to try first would be to play a bit around with MetaMask. I think I will show them MetaMask and have a small chat with them about how MetaMask works. MetaMask is a Web3 wallet where you can have access to multiple chains. And I think I will show him a testnet, maybe like on Polygon, because it's the most one of that comes top of my head. And I will show him how to interact with some platforms. For example, I will go to OpenSea and show him what to do there. OpenSea being like one of the marketplace for NFTs on Polygon.
Okay, cool. Another question in the chat. Blockchain is transparent, so can I see all wallets and all transactions without using an exchange like Binance?
As long as you know the public address, yes, you would be able to see all transactions. But keep in mind that Binance is an exchange, but this is a centralized exchange.
Yeah, cool. There are still privacy layers that are built on top. So except privacy coins or privacy blockchains like Monero, which are the oldest ones, there are still privacy layers that are built on top of Ethereum. So, and they are not more, they are more in the, let's say, testnet phase, but we should see various privacy solutions in the future. Even native solutions, even on Ethereum. It's going to be interesting. And another question, social media is Web3.
I
I'm not sure I'm getting it. So
social media in Web3, Facebook is Web3 in browser only, or also as app. Facebook is not Web3. I don't understand the question exactly, but definitely Facebook is not Web3. Facebook is the one of the biggest Web2 social media platforms, and they have all the information and everything centralized. I'm not sure what the question refers to. If you are referring to the function where Instagram allowed you to see your NFTs on inside the Instagram app, that's just a feature that they used, and I'm not sure if they still have that function anymore. I know they had that function, but I'm not sure if they are still having that function. And that was just an idea that I think Facebook tried. They didn't marketize too much.
May I step in just to say a few words here, Eduard? So I would say, as a, as a principle, actually, Facebook is going exactly against all of the principles that we are building towards here. So, principle of decentralization, where users control their own data, access, and well, own their own data, basically, in a decentralized way. And specifically, if we go moreover on the privacy related issues that we all know that Facebook has faced in the past, it's probably something that will need to be assessed generally in Web 2 and is continuing to be assessed. And hopefully, Web 3 would solve this problem. Yeah, Facebook is actually really um, at the opposite corner of why we are uh, building on Web3 technology. And obviously, this is actually a very good subject to raise, and actually, thank you for raising it. But I just thought it's good to take the opportunity that behind the technical aspects, what is very important to keep in mind here is actually why we're building all this technology, and the reason is to improve all of our lives, in terms of privacy and in terms of ownership, right? That's all I wanted to to contribute with. Thank you.
Yeah, also when I said that one of the major companies that sell personal data, we all know about the news where Metaverse or Facebook sold private data to advertising, and usually, at least I had got a lot of calls about scams on the internet, and I think most of them are just because a big major social media like Facebook sold my personal information like phone number, email addresses.
Yeah, and I guess this could be any number of companies. I mean, there was Facebook in this case, but it's any number of companies that hold your data in a very centralized way, right? Because if data is accessible and stored and not private, chances are that there will be these bad actors that will try to take advantage of it. It's, let's say, human nature somehow, right? So against all odds, what we're trying to do is actually build, against that and offer better solutions. But it's actually quite interesting to see that there can be confusion, and actually this is our role here to shed light on exactly, the main goals of building on Web3 technology. It's beyond blockchain, crypto, or whatever else. It's actually building towards a more principled approach, if you will.
Cool, guys. So I think we can wrap up. Okay, last question. So, are there any websites built on Web3 already?
Yes,
Good. Yeah.
we have some websites built on Web3. We have like the Uniswap is one of the websites, which is the exchange. We have OpenSea, that's also an exchange that was built on Web3. We have games like Golden Chain, which is a game created entirely on Web3. I think there's also social media built on Web3. I don't remember the name of it. Oh,
Yes, I can tell you. It's called Lens or Farcaster. There are some, but yeah. For example, Lens is like an open protocol in which you can build on top of. So basically, you can build your own client over the whole social network that acts like, yeah, infrastructure.
Okay. Cool. Great. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Edward, for your presentation. We'll upload the recording on YouTube, and see you at the next meetup.
Wait, hold up a second. We're
Oh,
forgetting here about the
sorry,
co-ops.
sorry. Yeah, so
Don't worry.
there's one more important thing. How could I forget? I'm sorry, Simona, go ahead.
Don't worry about it. It's totally fine, right? So as I said before, guys, there is a POAP as usual for our technical and non-technical meetups as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you the POAP QR code, which I'm going to ask you to mint, if you will. And this comes with a 25% discount to the conference, as I've said before. Conference POAPs, POAPs on the road to ETH Cluj can be accumulated to a free ticket. So looking forward to seeing you guys at the conference, and let me know once you can see my screen, please. Okay. You see it?
Yes.
All right. Take a moment and scan the QR code. This is refreshing the background, so should be all fine. But please do let me know if any of you have trouble with minting it. And reach out to me as well, on Telegram or here in the chat, whichever you prefer. Okay. Let's take maybe 2 minutes so that everyone can get the chance to mint it.
Maybe Simona, say a few words about ETH Cluj conference.
Yeah, I will actually. Sorry, I just had a friend coming up, one of our speakers actually from ETH Cluj, just coming in to say hi. So yeah, just coming back on ETH Cluj conference. It's 1 month from now, so pressure is on. So is excitement, right? What we're actually preparing for you guys, besides having like an overall cool experience and building this conference to be enjoyable first of all and for all skill levels, what you can expect for ETH Cluj is, well, first of all, interesting talks and panels, right? Our speaker lineup is quite exciting, and I hope you're looking forward to it. And then also, obviously, technical workshops for all levels, which my colleague Katalin has been kind enough to overview and, curate, if I may say so. And then obviously we're going to have the cool networking and side events. We've actually just launched the communication on our Twitter channel and soon to be on our LinkedIn as well. So have a look. And obviously, if you have a side event that you want to submit, please do so on the links indicated over there. All right? I'm assuming by now everybody got the chance to mint the POAP, right? So I guess I'm gonna stop share screening, and I guess that's a wrap for today, guys. Thank you so much for attending, for taking the time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you at the conference in June, right? 26th to 28th of June.
Cool. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.